actually one of my favorite stores for Chanel. I've always bought my Chanel there. But it appears they've shipped it back because a lot of the colognes were shipped back to um, the builders, which that is shipped from Europe to Memphis, Tennessee, and then routed. So, um, yeah, so they didn't have any Chanel. Um, would have liked to got that cheap because it's like over $100 a bottle. I like Coco Mademoiselle. Uh, they've got about half the store emptied out of the retail stock, and the other half is displays of mannequins that they've got all set in order. They do have a few chrome racks that are really cheap, like $25 each, that don't roll. Real nice chrome racks. Um, but they're not selling the mannequins yet. They'll probably do that last. Um, so they've got racks and racks of clothes and shoes, and some purses, a lot of MK stuff. And then I think one of the jeans was Miss Me. Um, and those were way over $100 pair of jeans. I'm surprised because I sold Britannias in Rodale Drive years ago, and they were $200 to $250 jeans. And I actually had a pair that I had for years and years. It was stolen in the storages in Bama. I used to laugh about it because, um, we got a huge discount at the store when I sold there, and I would laugh about it. There were the most poor fitting jeans, and they were from Europe, and a really bad cut, and they were hilariously expensive. And people were like, "Nice jeans," and I'm like, "They're junk." It was like a joke when I'd wear them. But yeah, they have tons of MK shoes and clothes. I They did have a Tommy Bahama section in that store, and I didn't see any Tommy Bahama. Saw some Columbia shirts, and they were still pretty high, about $60. They did have a few pair of topsider shoes that were real nice that I would have liked to got in my size if they were a little bit cheaper. They weren't too bad a price, but not enough deal for me. I like to go in there when the stuff's like the crack sale, 10 cents on the dollar. Um, because here's a reason they'll sell a lot of this stuff and they'll start getting really, really cheap. It's because they don't want to ship it. They got to pay people to pack it. Has to be moved, costs gas, costs trucks, you know, and it's gross expensive and you're losing profit. It's easier to sell it just about as cheap as you can just to get it gone because it'll end up costing you money. So, um, about half of the store is just clothes and shoes and stuff, and a little bit of home stuff. Like their towels are sorry, man. They didn't have any velvet towels in there at all. I like velvet bath towels. Um, and they had some kitchen stuff, and that it has signs all over like 60% off and 40% off, and so I asked a lady about it, and they have little pink stickers on the tags, and that's supposed to be the real price you're going to pay. And so the only thing I saw dirt cheap was Christmas stuff, like ornaments and Christmas clothing. Um, and that stuff is like $4 and $7. Um, and then everything else was kind of more like 20% off. Um, I mean, I had tons of sequin gowns, short and long, and they weren't like hand sewn sequin like Vegas sequin. They were more like yards of fabric with sequin on it, which is way cheaper to buy. Um, and those were like $50 to $80 on the sale. They had some really neat rhinestone shoes, all kinds of rhinestoney shoes. And it was really weird. It looked like 70s go-go platforms. Like with big giant chunky heels and stuff like that. Super ugly. But it was still really expensive. I mean, all the shoes were around 50. They had MK loafers, lots of those, but they were all pretty high, like $60, $70. MK doesn't really thrill me. I have one pair of MK shoes, and they're stacked leather heels, that look like, penny loafers with the fringy stuff on the front, and I really like those, and I think I still have them if they weren't stolen in the storages. But and I got those on eBay like dirt cheap, like $20, and they were like $300 shoes. But got those years ago, and they're super neat. They're still like brand new. Um, but uh, they had some kids' clothes, baby clothes. But it wasn't the biggest sale I've ever been to. They had rhinestone tennis shoes, um, and those were all around $60 on the sale. Um, they were pretty impressive, but I still wouldn't pay $60 for them. Um, I would want them really, really cheap. The closing is projected towards the end of February. They sold the store back to the mall. They actually bought their property, but they sold it back to the mall in Mary Esther at Santa Rosa Mall. And because the mall wanted the property back to build more apartment buildings, like the one behind it. So they cut a deal, and Dillards sold it, and they said they'd move out. So that's what they're doing. And it's not relocating or anything like that. It's just closing. So you see tons of cars here, but you don't see a lot of people come out with bags. Um, one of the checkers was pretty loud, and she's pretty obnoxious. I was very surprised. But then again, I had one bad experience at this Dillard's years ago with an obnoxious salesperson. But um, it, I mean, it's just still really high price. If you're trying to close a store, you better get it cheaper. I would love to get a hold of some of their mannequins at a real reasonable price, but it looks like none of them for sale right now. Um, and I'm not interested in purchasing any of their stuff in the moment because it's just not cheap enough for me. Like I say, it has to be a screaming deal. I didn't even bother to look up on eBay, for sell throughs and stuff for a lot of stuff because I wouldn't. It's just too much money to risk unless it's a super popular item, to wait for it to sell. I mean, they had high dollar tennis shoes and all kinds of stuff. Um, they had a lot of Sanuk sandals. If you're into those Sanuk, SANUK, they sold those at the uh, Kitty Hawk that I was working at, and those were very popular with the people from India. And but I had a bunch of those. I didn't even look at the price, and I imagine they were probably pretty cheap because they were just kind of sitting there on their own. Um, uh, they did have a pair of Sperry top siders that were really nice with the padded insole, everything. I couldn't believe it. Super nice. Um, Not particularly color I wanted, but I would have got them if they were really cheap. Thank you for the thumbs up. Um, uh, and they fit. They were like $30, not too bad. Um, for a shoe that retails around 60 and up, but they didn't have the size for me. So I went in the men's section and the women's. I like the men's ones better because they'll last longer. They're built better. Just like men's tennis shoes, they're built so much better than women's. They have a lot more padding in them and support and everything, and they just last longer and more comfortable. But they didn't have anything. I'd have to get like a men's size, 5.5, 6 to try to fit those, and they didn't have anything like that. It was all like 8 and up in the men's. Now women's, they had all kinds of sizes, And they had some really nice sparkly shoes. If you like sparkly, rhinestone looking shoes, they had tons of them. But they weren't cheap. You're talking about $60 and up on their so-called sale. Um, but honestly, I would wait a little bit longer and go in there and get the screaming deals. A lot of MK wallets, pocketbooks, shoes. Um, they had some really neat looking bell bottom jeans by a company I've never heard of. It was like V&G or something like that. They were kind of neat. Um, and but those were super expensive. They were like $60 on the sale. And then they had and a lot of them had a raggedy bottom, and then they had, of course, those ripped up jeans. I don't like any of that. I would have to put a hem in it. And then they had like Panatella slacks, um, sort of like Gap used to sell years ago. They're like a real wide leg, and they used to have a big belt bottom on the bottom. I mean, a big cuff on the bottom, like 3-inch tall cuff. And they're like a straight leg, but they're wide. And those were really cool pants. They look like that little cartoon character that everybody used to love for a sticker that said "Keep on trucking," um, and had the person in the big pants, and but no, none of it was really cheap to fool with. And nothing like interesting for resellability. Now, if you're a big fan of MK, they've got tons of it. So the loafers were kind of classy. I'm just not a big person with MK. I'd rather say Christian Dior if I had to wear a label. But I mean, they did have some neat stuff. But the shoes were very impressive, though. All that rhinestone shoes, they were truly impressive. They had tons and tons of rhinestone shoes. Um, that uh, I would love to go back and get, some of those rhinestone tennis shoes. Um, if I could get them really dirt cheap for me, and maybe some to resell. I don't know, but it would have to be really, really, really cheap. So if you're wondering about the Dillards sale, and it's no return, no exchange, so it's all sales final. So better be sure when you buy it. They got a big security guard standing right at the door. And that was kind of a turn off. He looked real mean when I walked in. I was like, ooh. Um, but it doesn't have a ton of stuff in there now. So and there's a ton of cars here. But like I say, you don't see a lot of people walking out with bags. And there's people of all ages coming through here. So I did see only a couple people with like handfuls of stuff they're walking around with, kind of checking every single thing out. They had some cute tops, but most of them were on sale for like 40, $50, and they weren't very impressive to me. Um, uh, it'd have to get way better than that. I didn't see any really high end gowns and stuff. I had a $5,000 business suit from Dillard's years ago and a $3,000 sundress from Dillard's that were both purchased for me as gifts. And I had those for years, and they were stolen in the storages. Um, but I didn't see any kind of clothes like that at all in there. Um, but lots of shoes, lots of sequiny gowns, some purses, wallets, glasses. Nothing was like really super cheap. I mean, yeah, Dillard's is high end and always been really expensive and a big thing. My fiance used to love the loafers from there, penny loafers, and they were grotesque expensive, like I think 250 a pair years ago. Um, and they had it. They had some fake furs and fake suede jackets, and they just were so fake. and they were kind of pricey. Um, and then I don't like fake suede because it rips. And then um, fake furs just feel like heck. They feel like a bathroom rug you've walked on. Um, but I mean, if you're an avid Dillards person and you liked paying all those really high prices for simple stuff, and you would like the sale probably a lot, um, or you're really avid about Michael Kors stuff, there's a ton of it in there. But I mean, like I say, it's not like any major big discount deals from what I'm seeing um, yet. But it is apparently scheduled to close the end of February. Um, so I will kind of check weekly and see where it's at because I sure would like some of their mannequins. They have the real nice shiny ones that I really like. Um, so we'll see. If I had more room, I would love to get some of those chrome racks because they are gorgeous. They're really nice for a retail store, but I just got done reducing the storages a little, and I just, you know, if I were to get them, it would only be if they were really like super mega cheap, like $5, $10 each or something. But they're the real high end, real pretty chrome racks. But somebody's on there, and I missed the comment. But yeah, so now I don't know if they're doing any online stuff for this store for sales. It is Santa Rosa Mall, Mary Esther, Florida, and it's Dillards. So I don't know if they got any online thing going on or not. You might be able to find some online deals, but the men's clothes, I saw a lot of guys picking up men's stuff. Um, those look like about the only shoppers in there. A ton of people in there, but there was men that were getting stuff like jackets and pants and stuff like that. So obviously there was some appealing sale for them. Um, Store closing down, yes. I think I have heard of them, but don't think we have one. Dillard's is big money, high end. Um, it's probably one of the last few left in the world. Years ago, there was like Orbox, there was the Saks Fifth Avenue, May Company, Robinsons, and then the cheaper ones, Montgomery Ward, Sodies, and stuff like that. Um, but uh, Dillard's is very high end, and the one in Memphis is really nice. They've got one in Dothan, Alabama. If it's still there, I don't know if it still is. And then this one that's been here for years. Um, Big money store normally. I mean, you know, if you have money to shop at Dillard's, you have money. Um, the only time it's really worth it is when they would have a sale or something on specific items, like some dress shoes or something. I bought a few of those through the years. Then I went in there and got really cheap. Like $15, $20 sale on something pretty extravagant. But I always usually bought my Chanel cologne there. Um, but other than that, that's kind of about it. I was never big on Dillard's. Um, I mean, they had some cool bell bottoms in there, but I can make the same ones for pennies on the dollar because I have the fabric, all that stretch velvet, and that got tons of it, and storage hasn't even been cut. I mean, I would have bought them if they were really cheap, but they were still, bank it out 40, $50. And it's like, no. Um, but like I say, if you're avid about Dillard stuff, I mean, to me, it's a little bit of a sale. It doesn't look like all they're advertising of, 90%, 60%, 40%, and all that stuff. It doesn't look like that at all to me. They've covered up the original price and they put a little pink sticker on there with the price they're selling it for. Because I thought, well, if it's like 60% off this price here. So I asked a lady and she said, oh no, it's just that price. And I went, ew. So it didn't look like any big deals to me. But, you know, again, if you're big on Dillards and you're, a regular shopper of Dillards, you might, like this sale so far. Um, and you should check it out. And I would definitely come in the daytime while it's open. Because they used to be open till 9, 10 at night. They were like their own entity where the rest of them all closed at 7 for several years here because it's just kind of gone under. And most of it was due to management. But um, they have a newer management like in the last year or two now, which was a lot better. But, um, they're getting ready to condemn most of the mall to build more apartment buildings. They're only going to keep a small sector of it towards the front. So they need Dillards out ASAP so they can start condemning. But anyway, so I just want to let you know about the big sale. And, you may want to take a look at it. You know, again, to me, I want to go through there at the last second when it's pennies on the dollar and scoop up stuff before I would spend a ton of money. But if there's something you really dig, like you're really into Michael Kors and all that, it would be worth it to you because the prices are very much reduced. Um, and you would probably really dig it. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great one and do something kind for a stranger. And I promise I'll see you in the next one. I love you.